Good morning. If any of you read the newsletter, you've already heard the title and the first two lines. For those that did not, the title is Forgiveness and Compassion. Is there a difference? I offer to you that yes, indeed, there is a difference. Although both qualities are born out of love, the processes, the practices, and often the outcomes may differ. First, forgiveness. In Unity, we read and talk a lot about forgiveness. There are many books that have been written that mention it. But the most common written words about forgiveness, I think, are found in the Lord's Prayer, which we recite every week. Some use the words trespasses, but the same meaning. Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. In the scripture found in Matthew 18:22, the answer Jesus gave Peter when asked, "How many times do we need to forgive? 7?" And Jesus replied, "Not only 7, but 70 times 7. This could be interpreted literally, as Reverend Dan once suggested to write the forgiveness statement as an affirmation 7 times for 70 days or 70 times for 7 days. But the number, I believe, is symbolic. It's suggesting boundless forgiveness, unmeasured and inexhaustive. Forgiveness is an ongoing process whose practices also vary. There probably are as many practices as there are of us, because ultimately it is an individual practice and individually we grow. How many of us have collected a variety of methods to forgive others or perhaps yourself? Okay, a few, all right. Well, I've experienced a few. One I used years ago was this. You visualize that person or event in full color and full emotions and full sense or whatever. Make it as detailed as possible. And then imagine being connected to that with a silver cord. And then by whatever means you choose and by whatever tool you choose, you cut that cord or burn that cord and see it fall away. It has worked and sometimes not, but it's worth a try. Also, there have been times in a deep meditation, if you focus on just letting go of emotion attached to that event or person, there is a door more fully open for forgiveness. Forgiveness is a journey that requires time and effort. It is ultimately about granting yourself the freedom to heal and move forward. Forgiveness makes space for peace and love to flow to you and through you. As you forgive, you are healing. Your heart feels lighter and you're ready to move forward. Remember also that self-forgiveness is a choice. From the Anamkara by John O'Donohue, we read this. When you forgive yourself, the inner wounds begin to heal. You come in out of the exile of hurt and into the joy of inner belonging. This art of integration is very precious. You have to trust your deeper inner voice to know which places you need to visit. This is not to be viewed in a quantitative way, but rather in a gentle, spiritual way. If you bring that kind light to your soul and to its wounded places, you can effect incredible inner healing. So sooner or later, when you have that tug at your heart to forgive, to release resentments, this is a grace, an ever-present push for you to live into your highest potential. In short, unforgiveness is indeed a holy ache. It hurts not only your heart, but also God's heart, because it blocks some of that flow of His love and grace into your life. What methods of forgiveness have y'all used? Anybody want to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
I've done where I write down the offense on paper and burn them in a burn bowl.
And burn them, yeah. Did everyone hear her? Okay. Write it down and then burn it. That's very good. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I worked through several forgiveness subjects through written exercises and therapy. Yet, forgiveness for my own daughter seemed to be insufficient. She has consented for me to tell our story. Just a second. I don't think there's a family, maybe even around the world, that has not been touched by drug use or some kind of addiction. So this daughter suffered from addiction beginning at 15 with pills. She has emptied my savings account, pawned my grandmother's silver, pawned her dad's and my wedding rings, and missed or ruined multiple family holidays or birthdays. So I just quit asking her to come or asking her to bring anything. Within 4 years, my husband and I gave her 3 vehicles, and she was also living in my Martinez home. And yes, I enabled her because she had my grandson with her, and it was not his fault that his mother was compromised. When she wrecked the 3rd vehicle, my husband was in ICU and they were trying to remove the tubes. And I got the call from David that happened, and I said, "You handle it." Then I texted my ex-husband, who lives in Tallahassee, and I said, "We are done. It's your turn. Come get her." That was all. 3 short sentences. And he showed up the next day and took her to Tallahassee. So, at last year's prayer chaplain training, because most of you know that I've been the only one for a couple of years, maybe 2, maybe 3, I've lost track. But we both agreed that really it was kind of a check-in. And after some conversation back and forth, I let her know that I've kind of been out of practice being aloud. Because I texted my group, and now I write a prayer for the newsletter, and I probably should make some calls to practice. But anyway, she said, "Well, then let's practice." And she gave me one of her favorite scenarios. It's that her mother wants her daughter to stop using drugs. Well, I replied to her with tears welling up that I couldn't. And I told basically the story I told you, maybe not with all the details, but how many times I've forgiven her, yet every time I remember her or some of the events, there's that little gnawing in the pit of my stomach. It was still there. So she said, "Excuse me," and she went back to her office, and I guess she took a picture of a poster. It was a compassion exercise using statements beginning with "just like me." And there are half pages to be passed out with this same exercise on it for you to take home with you. I'll just read them while you're waiting. It says, "Just like me, this person is seeking some happiness in his or her life. Just like me, this person is trying to avoid suffering in his or her life. Just like me, this person has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Just like me, this person is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. And just like me, this person is learning about life. I recited those lines aloud. For some reason, twice a day for 3 weeks sounded good to me, and that's what I did. Twice a day for 3 weeks, and then I just released it. Well, a few days later, this same daughter sent me a video of her son riding his bike without training wheels for the first time. She had become a mother, which I know took some work. Well, when I called her later that day, I found out that her son and herself, they were in therapy together, and they have graduated level 2. So, whatever that means. She came to Christmas last year, and that's when I learned that when she had that accident, she had suffered a brain injury and couldn't even talk for several months. And I wasn't trying to talk to her because I was in a bad place. So we are now learning how to be mother and daughter again. And I don't know why I'm crying about that. Maybe they are. Okay. Well, compassion is important because I've had no problem finding some wonderful writings about compassion. And first, again, from the Anamkara by John O'Donohue. Some people can be very compassionate to others, but are exceptionally harsh with themselves. One of the qualities that you can develop is a sense of compassion for yourself. When you visit the wounds within the temple memory, you should not blame yourself for making bad mistakes that you greatly regret. Sometimes you've grown unexpectedly through these mistakes. And frequently, in the journey of the soul, these moments are the precious moments that are the mistakes. They have brought you to this place that you would otherwise probably have avoided. You should bring a compassionate mindfulness to your mistakes and wounds. Inhabit again the rhythm you were in at that time and bring self-forgiveness and compassion to your heart. Joyce Rupp, who wrote Fragments of Your Ancient Name, it was the different names for God, or the essence of God. And on March 10th, in her book, the name is Compassionate One. When did the people of your era distinguish you as the person from whom compassion flowed? Perhaps it was the way you touched a leper's hand, or how you stopped to hear the widow's pain. Maybe when you interrupted self-righteous men and freed the frightened woman about to be stoned. Or the tone of your voice when you responded to the blind beggar's pleas to regain their sight. Wherever you went, you moved closer to pain, doing all that you could do to ease suffering and to heal. So today I learned how to care from the Compassionate One. Well, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama said this about compassion. Realizing that the other person is just like me is the basis on which we can develop compassion, not only for those around us, but also toward our enemy. We sometimes may think about an enemy and we may think of harming them, but instead try to remember that the enemy is also a human being, just like you. Every one of us has the ability to choose compassion. Every one of us can become that friend or neighbor that someone else needs. And maybe every one of us will choose to repair or renew a relationship. The love and care of God are made manifest through compassion. From Colossians 3:12, we read, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. And lastly, one of my favorite books called Oneness, The Pearls. Compassion is the common thread with which the tapestries of each of your lives are interwoven. For in truth, there is only one of us here. Okay. Oh, you're welcome.